Is your home chaos draining your energy? Stephani Lee Jackson shows us how to use sensory design to literally increase your brain's bandwidth and finally tame the overwhelm. Join us now. Hi, conscious parents. As we reach an incredible milestone of 100 episodes of the Spiritual Parent Podcast, I've been reflecting deeply on this journey. Hosting this podcast has been one of my most transformative experiences of my life. I've learned so much from our guests, from you, our listeners, and from our own healing along the way. With that, I feel called to pause the podcast at this beautiful marker. It's time for me to shift my energy toward my family and step fully into new projects. I'm becoming a reverend in metaphysics, and I'm so excited to see where this next chapter of life takes me. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening, sharing, and supporting this podcast. Together, we built something so special, and I'll carry the spirit of this work. Changemakers raising changemakers. With love and gratitude, Carrie.
Welcome back. I have Stephani Lee Jackson, who founded Practical Sanctuary. She specializes in sensory interior design and then art and healing. I love how she combines art and healing to merge together for spaces for families. I was actually speaking to a family last night about ADHD, neurodiversity. I was telling her that that it helps kids with ADHD to have a place to put everything. So it has a specific place where it goes. And then I was just like, wow, I hadn't heard that. And then I was also telling her that I had heard that when we can decrease the amount of clutter or things in our space, that our nervous system doesn't feel as overwhelmed. Have you heard these things?
Absolutely. Okay. And with ADHD, there's an extra issue that there is some evidence to suggest that ADHD is partly a deficit of neurotransmitters that help you write things in short-term memory. Now, if you have less short-term memory than the average person, and all of your things are all over everywhere where you don't have a spot to put them, you're going to have a harder time finding things because you just can't track all of those things. You're going to respond to whatever's right in front of you. So if you have a finite number of things and they all have a place that they go, your ability to find something again once you put it down and the ability to not be distracted by a thing that just pops up in your peripheral vision is going to rise, and you're going to be able to just manage the complexity of your life a little more easily.
Interesting. Wow. I like the science behind that. Thank you for explaining that. Okay, so when you create spaces for people, do you have any ideas about what we can do? I'm failing to show you my table right now covered in model train building, like little house building kits for my son.
One of the first things I have my clients do is, even if I'm with them in person, we will take dozens and dozens of photos. As you are seeing right now in your own computer screen, how you frame something determines what you pay attention to. And if you're just in this, you're swimming in this environment and all the stuff is just there, your brain's been filtering it out. When I have my clients take a photo frame and just start clicking it, it's like, oh, there's that pile of stuff over there that my brain hasn't brought to my attention in the last 6 months, but it's still there. Yes. All of these things, they start to be able to see. I ask you how you feel about this. You're going to get a physical response. And that physical response is going to give you information about the next thing to.
It's so interesting because as you're talking about when you see that, there's what's the emotion that it invokes. And yes, there's the intensity of, oh, I wish I could just put it away. I wish it was put away. There's also the intensity of raising neurodiverse kids. As a parent, society is already judging you and your kids and how you're parenting. And for me, I had to choose as a conscious parent. It was like, do I want to be short with my kids because they're making a mess and I need it to always be perfect? I had to make this choice consciously about 6, 7, 8 years ago. The house is what it is. And I do my best and I try to keep it clean, but sometimes there's socks everywhere and train table pieces and these things because I have to keep my sanity.
Who cares what a judgy stranger thinks?
Oh,
judgy strangers are not your people.
Yes. So when we're looking at trying to harmonize our space, I'm trying to think of what can we do? What can we do to transform a space? I think for me, like I do have the boundaries, whereas usually it's no toys on the main floor, toys in the basement. That's where I've
Mm-hmm.
gone.
Yeah. It's never going to be perfect, but then there's a lot of different levels of how you harmonize. And getting clear on what your core needs are is the first step in that. Like,
Mm,
what are we harmonizing to?
yeah.
And that's about you. That's about your personal history, your
Mhm,
aesthetic preferences, what you're
mhm,
trying to accomplish, and about the relationships in the space. And that's going to change over time. So I really help my clients drill down on what it is they really want and what they're allowed to want and
mm,
what changing the rules is going to liberate for people. I really try to give my clients as much of a sense of their own agency as
mm,
is possible within the obvious constraints.
yeah.
Because as a former fine artist, that was my whole deal. It's like my needs and perceptions are what I am building my life and identity on. So those
Mhm,
things take precedence. They take precedence over, what my judgy mother-in-law thinks and
mhm,
what the
mhm,
neighbors think and what my former classmates who are now all doctors and professionals think. This space has to serve me. And if it means
mhm,
I throw a giant tarp over the living room and hang canvases on the walls and have a junky old shelf that's full of paint, like that is how it goes.
mhm,
So I really try to help my clients draw that out. Like I
mm.
really try to ask people, if money were no object, what would you be
Yeah.
doing with your time? If time were no object, what would you want to be doing in here? And then we move on from there.
I love that. I think that's really conscious to do. And um, it's kind of interesting. Before, when we moved into our house, my husband and I think it was 4 years ago, we looked at each room and it was right after COVID. So we wanted to get the most use out of each space. Do we really need a full guest bedroom when we have people come once a year? No, let's build a Murphy bed
Exactly.
and make it an
hmm
office.
You're actually working as a family. You've got your own little niche, but you've got a little bit of social connection in
Mhm.
that space. And really, what we are lacking is that in-person social connection when we're in our computers. So
Mhm.
if we have perhaps a shared office,
Yeah.
at least you've got the sense that there's some life over here and you're not
Yes.
just alone in cyber world in front of your desktop. So I wholeheartedly approve of that.
Yeah, and it was interesting because we did think about all this. I guess we did kind of know our kids were neurodiverse, but also it's so helpful for me to have these spaces where I can check in on the kids while I'm cooking dinner,
hmm
while
hmm
we're together, and I can
Yes.
check in on things for them as they will get more into homework as they get older too, because that will be something that we'll have to do together and manage together.
The highly sensitive person ends up taking on way more of the responsibility for everyone getting their needs met and kind of like white knuckling it through a lot of things because they're aware of what's
Yeah.
happening with other people, but they're not getting the same thing in return. I am one of those
Yeah.
people.
Same.
Yeah,
Yes.
I suspected you might be. Yes. Yeah, so physical boundaries are huge. I mean,
Hmm.
your children need that level of supervision. And
Hmm.
also you need ways that you can recharge your own nervous system
Mm.
in order to keep doing what you're doing. There have been times when I have gone into homes where the parents were, how do we support the
Yeah.
child? Like, really, I'm kind of militant about insisting that mother's needs get met
Hmm.
because the mother is caring for everyone else, and it's always assumed in our culture that you're either a
Mm.
carer or a caree, and the
Mhm,
carers don't get care, and the carees don't have to give care, and like,
mhm.
not functional. If you're
Yeah.
holding things together, your needs need to get met.
Mhm,
There's a million ways that could happen. I just take people through the process and just figure out, okay, what do you need? What can we do and make a case for doing it. Sometimes just having it all laid out, it's like, yeah, maybe people don't want to, oh, it'll be too much trouble, it'll take too much time, cost too much money. I'm really frugal, I'm really thrifty, but there are certain things that just, if it's going to make you feel better, you need to do it.
Yeah.
And it can be something as simple as just painting a room, changing your
Mm-hmm.
layout, like having a little space that you can close the door for a certain amount of time every day, your own
Mm-hmm.
little niche where you can just go and, be with yourself or
Yes.
be with a friend who nurtures you. Like get that break to take care of yourself. And your children will benefit from that.
You mentioned that you're writing a book. Can you tell us about
Yes, it's called the Eccentric Genius Habitat Intervention
Wow.
Interior Design for Highly Sensitive People.
Okay.
It's a manifesto about sensory interior design, and it is also a how-to guide for
Mm.
how to go through each one of your own senses and those of your family and
Mm.
understand how you relate to the world in that sense, and then how to adapt the space that you can control to optimize your relationship with that sense and with your space. And I break it down for people with executive function issues. I
Mm-hmm.
have exercise. Here's a thing you could do in this minute. Here's the
Mm.
thing you can do next week. Here's the thing you can do someday. So you can keep coming back to it. And it is not a how-to guide that is your typical self-help book where it's all on you.
Mm. Yeah. So
As
if there was,
people, we need,
oh,
yes,
no, go ahead.
we need connection. And you're creating that connection with your podcast. And I'm sure you know this very, very well.
Yes, I do. Connection is, I feel like, oh my gosh. And we don't necessarily always value that as humans nowadays because we have our devices, right? It's our artificial connections. So I love you're making these beautiful and well designed, but also livable spaces as places to our foundation for connection,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah, it's
dinner
our
table.
foundation for expanding. When you get more bandwidth in your own body, in your own brain, you have more to connect with other people. And
Mm-hmm.
so a portion of my mission is to co-create spaces with architects and developers and healthcare people that are facilitating that human connection, that community. And there's millions of ways to do that, but it has to be an intention. It has to be a conscious priority. And most of what's being developed right now, that's been taken off of the priority list. It's like, how can we profit the most from, this square footage of acreage that we're going to
Mm-hmm.
put housing or, shopping malls on? It's not facilitating connection. We have to start. So we have to start with us and then expand outward.
Yes, I love that. I feel like you're on a similar journey, Stephanie, and in your work with a physical space and bringing that in. I love it. It's beautiful. So, okay, so I have a question for you. What would be, I know as I'm listening, I'm like, okay, organizing is a big piece, getting rid of stuff. You just feel so nervous when you're like, okay, I gotta fix my space. What's a takeaway that you could leave for parents going through this?
Don't try to do it all at once.
Yeah.
Pick the high return on investment activities.
Mm.
And you can do that just by taking pictures of your own space and
Mm-hmm.
noticing what's piled up and what's creating physical obstacles in your space and what emotional obstacles are those either representing or triggering, and identify one and then ask for some help to create a way to make that obstacle, get some flow through that obstacle. Just tackle one thing at a time. Don't try to do this whole thing where you're just going to fix it. Like, that's
Yes.
what Marie Kondo tells people to do. She's like, you're just going to tidy up once in your life,
Mm-hmm.
and that doesn't work for neurodivergent people.
No, no.
It
You
takes
know
a
what?
long time.
It's interesting. I heard somebody mention that Marie Kondo, like a lot of her things that she created were before having children. And then once she had children, she came back and said, it's true, you guys are right. Your criticism of me was right. Like it's, it's interesting. It's such a perspective.
Yeah.
It's very different.
hmm Yeah. Yeah, children are changing really fast and they're learning really fast and you
Yeah.
can't just like have a one and done with a kid. It's you understand. It's always a process.
Yeah, your needs change as you grow. Yeah, the space,
Hmm.
it's almost like a flex space because the space continues to change.
Flex space. I love it.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time, Stephanie. We'll have links to all of your contact information in our show notes.
That would be fantastic. Thank you, Carrie. This has been delightful.
Please remember that the information shared on this podcast is educational in nature and does not constitute licensed mental health advice. If you need such advice, you should speak with a licensed professional about your unique situation. Thanks so much, happy listeners.